Hi, I'm excited about this book entitled 42 Years in the Classroom, Lessons I've Learned from Kids, Critters, and Colleagues. And I'm excited about the reviews that have been written about this book. Now, why did I write this book shortly after I retired from the classroom? I wrote it because too many teachers are feeling underappreciated, overworked, and burned out. Those 42 years in the classroom taught me so many tips, tricks, and techniques that I love to share with teachers. I believe teaching is one of the most difficult professions that there is, but I also believe that teaching is one of the most important professions on the planet. And so it has given me so much joy to be able to share with teachers, encourage them through this book and through the teacher training workshops and keynote addresses that I've been able to give since I retired from the classroom. Chapters 1 through 7 of this book are useful for teachers of any grade level, any subject area. Chapters 8 through 10 deal specifically with teaching high school biology. And those chapters have lots of resources that I've included in there for high school biology teachers who would like to teach concepts in new and untraditional ways. If I might share just one example of a teaching tip applicable to any subject area, any grade level, one teaching technique that's described in chapter 6 of this book. And chapter 6 is entitled, How Transitioning from a Teacher-Centered to a Student-Centered Classroom Reignited My Passion for Teaching and My Students' Love of Learning. I've learned that for most teachers, the number one concern, the number one thing that leads to teacher stress and fatigue seems to be classroom discipline, classroom management. In fact, when I talk to new, young, beginning teachers, that seems to be their number one concern. How to deal with discipline problems if and when they come up, and they will come up. One of the lessons I've learned over the years is that if you want to have discipline problems in your classroom, then position yourself front and center as the sage on the stage. Traditional teacher-centered classroom. Position yourself front and center and talk to those teenagers for the entire class period or most of the class period. In other words, run a teacher-centered classroom. I found that when I transitioned to a student-centered classroom, and I'd made this move like mid-career, 20 years in, when I was starting to burn out. When I transitioned to a student-centered classroom, student engagement and learning increased dramatically, and discipline problems plummeted, almost became non-existent, and teaching and learning became more enjoyable and more effective. It's my hope that the information in chapter 6 and the information in all the other chapters of this book will be helpful to teachers everywhere, because I believe that teaching, that is love with its sleeves rolled up, is the most important profession on the planet. Thank you for listening today.